Hi everyone, welcome. I'm preparing to check in on a worm bin here. A worm bin which last time we checked in on it 2 weeks ago was not 200 days of age now, and now it's almost a week beyond its 200th day in service. So we kind of knew that we wouldn't be around on its milestone day. So I don't remember if we recognized it last time in advance or we just planned to do it belated, but whatever. Happy 200 days in service. So today's feeding is going to be number 18 after 2 weeks since we last checked in on these guys. An interesting feeding of materials which came from my freezer, which is not so unusual, but what happened to these pieces of vegetable prior to being frozen was that they were used as part of a soup stock. So certain vegetables, I guess, remain in the soup to be eaten later, which I'm surprised to see a carrot here, because that's one of those things that normally stays with the soup and gets consumed. But other things, maybe the parsley or some of these, I'm not even certain what all these are, but I think some of this is knob celery. And here's an onion, a whole onion thrown in with the skin on and everything. Left to cook and stew and give the soup some delicious flavor, but then removed later on. And I've fed frozen stuff before. Not frozen, what am I talking about? Cooked. Frozen is the routine around here, but cooked is an unusual twist. The only thing about it that worries me is that it's a soup stock that's made with bone broth. So there is a little bit of grease, a little bit of greasiness to it as you touch the frozen vegetables. But my hope is that it doesn't really permeate down into the vegetable matter. So somehow, one way or another, the worms will make their way beyond the greasiness, and once they do, the vegetable matter will be at their disposal. So just a quick recap on what we've been finding here in this system here. By the way, this coffee filter just marking where we last fed. One thing we've been finding lately, and I think it came up a couple times now, recurring theme is how heavy this thing is. And I'll tell you, it's definitely got some good weight to it. So some might say, well, is that because it's overly damp? Well, maybe. Others might say, well, could it be because it's approaching its capacity? And I would say maybe. And I think my conclusion on what's going on here is that it's a combination of both of those things. So I guess the moisture is something I'd prefer not to try to remedy right now. I think keeping the moisture level in here pretty high is key to seeing the worms work their way through everything that they still need to eat in here, because there's all kinds of leftovers. A whole bunch of leftovers was part of what I noticed in here during the last feeding. I rewatched the video from last time. But then we fed anyway, and I have a feeling that we might be encountering a repeat of that. Finding even more leftovers here today. Oh yeah, and the other thing in here is that we've left the outer edges undisturbed, untilled. All we ever did over here in the last two check-ins was open up a trench down the middle, add the food, and then we would be along on our merry way, leaving the outer edges undisturbed. And usually what I do on the outer edges is I till them up and aerate them and blend in any of this sort of lovely seasoned bedding that's been in here now for 14 days. So, wow, oh boy. I could already tell when I started probing down into there what a worm frenzy was happening down in there. Oh boy, wow. There is major worm party happening down here in this feeding zone, and we're already bumping into some of the leftovers that's causing such the stir. Look at all these leftover pieces of bedding too. We delivered the feeding two feedings ago inside of coffee filters. So each coffee filter sort of contained and constrained its contents to remaining put, sort of, as well as constraining any wormies that came for that food. And then we had fun last time pulling out those coffee filters, each loaded with a little bit of leftover of the food the worms were working on, as well as the worms. And like I said, I think we could have forecasted leftovers in here, because last time we already found leftovers and fed anyway. And we're doing the same today. We're just going to be giving them another feeding. You know, I went on and on last time about what I've been wanting to do. Last time I went on and on about how it would be nice to extend the check-in intervals to more than what I usually do. A lot of times I'm coming back after 8, 9 days, 10 days, 12 days, depending on how busy I've been, possibly preparing 2 videos, having check-ins with multiple systems on a single day. But lately I've been, you know, deliberately stretching it all out and not doing multiple videos in a single day and stuff like that. I've been taking a day off here and there, not doing any videos. So I guess in this particular case, we talked about how it might be nice to try to extend the period between feedings. During the last check-in, we were coming back after an exactly identical period of 14 days between check-ins, just like we're doing here today. And we talked about how it might be nice to be able to come back in a longer amount of time and really leave the worms to work down what they've been tasked with consuming. And, you know, it just didn't work out this time. We're just back to 14 days between check-ins. And we talked about how it'd be nice to come back on this next occasion after a longer period of time. But, you know, the surplus of stuff in my freezer sort of takes precedence to some sort of a little idea that I had about maybe letting the systems go longer. If I need to liquidate stuff from my freezer, then I got to make that the priority, you know. Stuff keeps piling up, and I've been applying a lot of stuff to my outdoor compost barrel a lot lately. Not to mention the fact that I disassembled my garden the other day. So in went all the uprooted plants. And I'm being super careful here. You might be saying, why is he taking so long? What the heck is he doing? Well, from your perspective, it might not be clear to see, but from my point of view, I'm operating over the rim. So if something were to start tumbling from the top in the wrong direction, it could easily end up rolling off, ending up on the tablecloth or perhaps even the floor, and that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid here. And I guess I'll admit it, I'm geeking at all the worms in this system, and it is exciting to see all these happy, healthy, friendly worms. I mean, they seem friendly. Is it just my imagination? Oh man, so much fun. I can't understand why more people don't raise worms. It's fun. I don't know. To each his own. It's funny, there's this one other channel I watch sometimes where the guy raises ants, and that guy is so deathly afraid of worms for some reason. I mean, besides ants, he deals with all kinds of insects and small creatures and you name it. Ants Canada, if you're thinking about the name of the channel, and you probably guessed already. But yeah, they they go into some crazy stuff over there, but the guy hates worms, so you'll never see a worm over on that channel. So let's put the frozen onion right in there, dead center. I figured I'd go down that road again of containing the foods that we're giving them into these coffee filters. And well, I have 4, and I think that's just about right to fit what I was able to chip away. I mean, this stuff is frozen solid. It took a lot of hacking to break it apart from one large iceberg, and I think it's fragmented down small enough that It'll make for an interesting check-in next time. Each of these coffee filters loaded with a fairly generous amount of food. And that's going to be their feeding today. What do you think? I like it. Oh, looks like we got a little bit of other small items that fell off. And you know what? I got coffee here too. Covering up this lovely stuff, and I guess that's good. It's sort of like a little bit of a cold cushion, if you will, so that as we start returning stuff, just in case there's worms on some of this old bedding type material that we're going to return into here, well, at least the wormies have that little layer of coffee to protect them from the freezing stuff right below. I don't know, I got a feeling the worms are quite capable of taking care of themselves, even if they come in contact with sudden freezing. They got plenty of places that they can go get away from it. So I thought I had everything set up here ready to go, but I didn't have the grit. But I wanted to make sure we add some grit with today's feeding too. Oh boy, that's a nice generous portion, but I don't think we need any more than that. That's our check-in with these red wigglers now. And I had really hoped to blend in a lot of this leafy matter as we go, because I've got my box and we can add more as a top coating, but it felt to me like I mentioned in the beginning, to me it seems like we're approaching the capacity of this container, and it's going to be that much more heavy when I have to carry it back to the shelf when we're done here. And that's not the problem. It's not the weight, it's the lack of remaining space left in reserve for me to do my thing, which is to move stuff around. And I like to do so kind of freely, kind of without having to think through every move before executing it. And here it does feel like I've got to be super conscious of what I'm doing with every shove of the material, although now I've leveled it off to the point where nothing's popping up over the rim of the container, but before it was kind of precarious. And you know, it's been 3 check-ins now since the last time we actually went probing down into the outer edges. I thought I'd aerate today and add some of this leafy matter down into the material below, but I'm kind of liking the idea of leaving material undisturbed, but I am curious, so let's just take a probe down into that stuff there. That right there is stuff that I've not tilled up and disturbed for numerous check-ins now. Super dark in color, but not feeling overly compacted. And I think we'll leave the inspection of it at that. We're going to let it go another round. I'm kind of liking it. Here and there I've been doing it, and here I was able to verify that it's been going on for a number of check-ins now. So this might be the longest that we've been allowing material in the system to remain undisturbed by my prying visits. But at some point soon, perhaps the next time, we will start tilling material down into it, combining stuff, because I don't know, at this age it does make good sense to start thinking ahead. And you know, exactly on that same note, I'm going to back off from the idea of adding even more leaves at this point, because there are a few of my other systems which only a few weeks older than this one have already started into the foraging phase, which is to be given no new bedding and left with the task of breaking down what remains. And at this point, adding more leaves I think might be counterproductive to a system that might be starting foraging soon. And there's also that whole thing about capacity. I'm feeling like we're pretty full here, so I think we're skipping the application of leaves, although I was ready to do it. I'm right here with the leaves, but I think we're better off without. We gave them some coffee filters. That should be enough for the bedding application today. So that's it for the check-in, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, well, I don't know if you enjoyed it, but I did. There was some major worm spotting in here. That always seems to be the case with this system. It's a real fun system to check in on. But I was about to say, I've got a couple things I got to take care of getting cleaned up and put away over here. Stuff that's kind of boring, stuff I don't want to waste your time with. So before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.